Hello everybody, today I'm going to be trying to adjust the valves in my 05, this also works for 06, WR450F. The valve specs for the intake are going to be 0.1 to 0.15 millimeters, and the exhaust is going to be 0.2 to 0.25 millimeters. So the first thing we want to do is remove all of these wires so we can get access to where the valves are. Another thing you're going to want to do is remove these two caps, so then you can get it at top dead center on compression stroke to adjust the valves. So we're just going to take our large screwdriver and remove both caps. Just remember that when you remove these caps, sometimes you'll have oil spewing out, but I did drain the oil on this motorcycle, and for good reason. That looks like there might have been some water in the oil. So we don't really want to run it with water in it, so now we're just going to turn this nut till here. It's going to be inherently obvious where top dead center is. Okay, so we are going to be turning over the engine. So this feels like compression stroke. So we should see a notch very soon. I have a 17 millimeter socket. I'm going to be turning this over. I might have missed it. Oh. So I believe that oops, is top dead center. Next thing is going to be removing all of these hoses. They aren't that difficult. You can just pull them off. Same thing with these ones. So it's not too difficult. Now we just want to unplug the spark plug. So when I was referring to the spark plug, I was referring to the coil. I just unplugged it like so. And now we're just gonna pull up on the actual coil. Can be pretty tricky, but once you get it loose, it's quite easy. Now, if you look here, I'm just pulling this out, and I got the coil out. So we're gonna put this to the side, or in my case, I'm just gonna plug it back in and rest it there. So now we're just gonna undo these two bolts, and then we can take off this cover. So you're going to need a 5 millimeter Allen key to just crack them loose. And the ball end Allen keys are quite nice because if you look, I'm on an angle. I don't have to be straight on, and I can still loosen it, which comes in handy quite a bit. So I have loosened both bolts enough. I just dropped that. This is what the bolts will look like. They'll just go in here, and now we're gonna lift off this cover. In my case, my cover's really stuck on, so I'm gonna be using a little machinist hammer to try to break the seal. Which worked quite well. So I'm just gonna wiggle the cover out. So we've ran into our first problem. I can't get it out without removing this bracket, this one right here, so I'm just going to remove that. So by removing the aluminum bracket here, we were successfully able to remove the top cover. Next thing we're going to do is remove these bolts. So it turns out I made a bit of a mistake. This wasn't actually on the compression stroke. Now I've adjusted it to be on the compression stroke. Now I'm going to get my 0.10 feeler gauge and check both of the intake valves. So the 0.10 fit. Now I got the 0.5 millimeter, so I'm going to check if it also fits underneath. So there's a fair amount of resistance, so I'm going to go one size up, and if it fits in, and that means I need to order some shims. In all honesty, I don't think it's too critical, but so I have the 1.8 Nope, that doesn't fit. Oh, oopsies, made a bit of a mistake. I had the 0.18 and 120. No, that still doesn't fit. So we're in the good on the left side. So on the right side intake valve, it's quite the tight squeeze. Quite difficult to do it. So I can feel a fair amount of resistance. That's with the 0.15. Now I'm going to get the 0.18. So if the 0.18 slips under, that means I have to get new ones. So it doesn't slip under, so that means we're in spec on the intake valves. Now we are going to check the exhaust valves, which are 0.20 to 0.205. So I'm going to get those and check the exhaust valves. So I'm not going to bore you with the exhaust valves because I just showed you on the intake. So luckily, all of my valves are in spec. In the scenario that they weren't, I'd have to remove all of these bolts, take off these covers, take out the camshaft, then there's a little cap that you take out with a magnet, and underneath would be your shims. I know I didn't go fully in depth in this video, but I think what I've shown is plenty for the average person to get the job done. So I hope I helped somebody out, and I guess I'll see you in the next one.